hurting myself quite a few times, like falling off of fences, like ripping tendons in my knees from falling in holes, you know, just running a lot, coughing, puking. I don't know, I get quite bad acid belly from painting. I throw up quite a lot. I think my lungs are screwed and my kidneys are probably trashed, but you know, it's all a bit fun, isn't it?
So graffiti's got nothing to do with me physically. Mind you, I do drink a lot of beer when I paint. that's probably the only problem. And the paint fumes aren't very good for you.
Yeah, I think graffiti's definitely had some physical effects on me. Like, I need a wee a lot of the time, especially when I've been painting. I think it has something to do with all the solvents and stuff like that. My skin is quite bad after I paint and stuff as well. What drives me to keep painting? Sometimes, some days, I don't really know. I don't know what drives me. Sometimes, a lot of the time, I just want to give up. That's what it is. I don't know what keeps. I don't think I could stop if I wanted to. So yeah, it's just nature to me now.
No, I'd never give up graffiti. For me, I had a really quite turbulent childhood, and graffiti and skateboarding were two things that gave me self-confidence and it made me proud of myself. Graffiti was the only thing that got me through it.
No, I've never considered giving it up. There's been times I've been pissed off with it. You know, there's other times you just can't seem to do a decent sketch. You have pieces that are turning out shit. You're having troubles with other guys in the scene and everything's going bad, but you always come out of that and just soldier on. You know, for me, probably the worst place I've painted would be anywhere with the smell of human shit and syringes and mud. You know, people trying to jump you, rain, wind. Yeah, it's not. There's no one place in particular, but a lot of situations I can think of. And anywhere you get, you know, halfway through your piece and getting chased, you know, that's shit. It's not much fun.
The worst place I've ever painted would probably be a place that we named the Crack House Zoo, which is behind Brick Lane. It was an abandoned building where lots of hookers and smackheads would hang out. So there was condoms and human turds everywhere. And needles. So you'd have to wear boots when you went there because you'd be standing on loads of used needles, and quite a few times you'd bump into people jacking up while you were in there. It's quite strange whenever you go to abandoned buildings where smackheads frequent. There's always like loads of children's toys and kids' clothes everywhere, where I think they must steal clothes and just leave them there. It was just a really weird, horrible, grimy place, but it had some walls in there that you could paint during the day because no one else was in there besides people getting high or getting screwed.
But to me, real graffiti is in illegal places, on the streets, on the train lines, on the trains, and when the art form, you know, if it's still around in 100 years or not, when people talk about graffiti as an art form, they will be talking about the illegal graffiti. And yeah, I feel like I work within the art industry, and I look at a lot of art history, and I think it's an amazing art movement that we're in at the moment. It's so different to anything that's happened before, and it's, you know, I feel really blessed to be part of it. But I don't think those legal walls should really be counted as the proper graffiti, because people are going out and risking their asses and, you know, getting busted by the cops, chased, cut by barbed wire, and you know, their graffiti's getting cleaned off within a matter of hours and all that. And that is the beauty of the art form. It's people aren't in it to, you know, you can't go to art school for graffiti.
So, yeah, graffiti it's not really graffiti if it's not illegal. Halls of Fame are our art galleries, and they're really important for our scene, for people to practice and get better and to show off their skills. So, I mean, I mostly paint legal walls these days, but, you know, I still have the urge to go and paint trains and paint track sites and things like that, but I'm not saying I'm never going to do it again. It's just at this moment in my life I'm kind of slowing down on that aspect of it. But yeah, graffiti should be illegal. Well, and you can't really call yourself a graffiti writer if you've never done illegal graffiti, and you can really kind of see that with people's tags. There's a lot of people nowadays who can paint really well because the paint's good, but you just look at their tag and you know they're an asshole because they can't write their own fucking name. So, you know, it's really important to be able to do hand styles. It's the most important part of graffiti. And if you can't tag, then you shouldn't be doing graffiti.
Illegal painting, a lot more bombing, a lot more stealing, and then a lot more getting arrested and shit like that, getting chases. So I think I see that as like proper graff, which I think I've just sort of grown out of over the years. So.
What is the importance of illegal artwork to legal? I think it's crucially important. I think that the spirit and the kind of vibrancy and the energy of illegal graffiti really has its foundations in illegal artwork, and I think it's so important for it to continue. You know, and I think from my point of view, obviously I'm chosen a direction where it's not, you know, of key importance to my activities to be doing illegal stuff all the time. But if everybody was like me, it would be a disaster. The foundation of it, we are trying to write our names on stuff and paint pictures on things, and the intention doesn't stem from the want to steal stuff and, you know, break people's things and, you know, like ruin people's lives. It's about sort of breaking down boundaries to paint your name on something. People argue that the taxpayer has to pay for the cleanup, but we all know that privatised companies grossly overestimate the amount of damages done so that you can increase fines and punishment.
My friends are just dodgy anyway, like in and out of prison, or just, you know, doing like either taking a lot of drugs or selling a lot of drugs, or yeah, I think like growing up like working class in England, like you're just surrounded in like criminal things anyway, so yeah. No, I don't think if I didn't do graff, don't know. Yeah, I would have been involved in something else just through who the sort of people you hang around with or grow up with. So.
I guess there's been the odd incident of having a bit too much to drink, having graffiti implements, and not really remembering the walk home too well, and the next day seeing the damage. But I've always tried to pride myself on getting up as much as I can without pissing people off, and I've got no problem in tagging government property or anything like that, painting as many spots as I can. But as far as people's private property, I don't want to be that guy. It's not me. That's what kids do. Yeah.
I've obviously done things in my past which I know are wrong, but it's also part of graffiti itself is to destroy certain things and then build them. You know, I've never painted on places of religious rest, people's homes or people's cars. You know, I don't target the general public. I always paint it on things that are ugly or street furniture. You know, it's not, I don't think it's really that offensive. You know, there's certain things that you have to do to be able to get your name up, which might be considered as bad, but I think graffiti is a really positive, good thing, and it helps a lot of people, more so than it does ruin people. I think when drugs get involved, it can ruin certain things, but you know, that's part of street culture, is drugs.
You can do something really good with 3 colours, and sometimes if you add 10 colours to it, you can really fuck it up. Like, I tried to do something colourful yesterday, and I don't know, it didn't work out as well as it could have. I think if I just filled it all in one colour and outlined it, it would have looked a lot nicer. That's why I like using emulsion a lot, just rolling the fill. It's better for your internal, not breathing in all the paint fumes.
I like relay. It comes from being at work Monday to Friday and having to check which vans had entered the congestion charge zone. And one of the vans that we had was a Citroen Relay, and I'd always end up putting stylised letters on a notepad to remind myself to pay the congestion charge. And after a while, the letter combination just ended up sticking.
Tizer 1 from the ID crew. The reason why I first started writing Tizer was because it's an English drink. I wanted to have a name that sounded really English. I'm not originally English, but I wanted to have something that was instantly recognisable as being an English name, and I wanted to be recognised as an English graffiti writer.
My alias is Pref. It came from a long time ago when I was at school and I was messing around with different names, probably when I was like 13, 14. And it started as Prof and it had an O. But at the time I think I thought the O would be really limiting because it's just kind of a circle or a circle. So I changed it to an E, which was more interesting.
Right, Aeon, depending on where you're from in the world, some people say Aeon, but I'm Australian, so it's Aeon to me. I came up with it after I got busted years ago in the mid-90s. I had to change my tag and watched a lot of Aeon Flux with my mates and sketching in front of the TV, and that's how it came about.
Alias at the moment is just Gent, and then 48 is my crew, but at the moment I just, mainly on my Instagram and stuff, I just refer to myself as Gent48, and then it's no real importance to me at all. Like, my oldest brother used to write Agent back in the 80s, and then when I got into graff. I used to write stuff like extreme and fucking all sorts of like toy shit. And then after a while, he started showing me a bit of tagging. And then I just stole his name off him, basically. I just pinched Agent. And then I took his crew as well, TGF, the Gifted Few. The scene, when I first started, like back in Birmingham, like I felt that's when Birmingham was a lot better. Just, I suppose it's the same thing. Things are always better when you first get into them, aren't they? It's like it's new and it's exciting. We used to have a place called Aeon, which was like a legal Hall of Fame. But then we used to go down and just watch all the older writers paint, like Zucky and Corsa and people like Juice. But then you'd get people like Lumit used to paint there as well. You used to get some good artists. So I think when I first started, there's so many kids my sort of age that were doing it as well, but you just meet up because we were all just getting into it together. It's almost like a big family, just like so many kids around Birmingham just use Selioke as just a massive writer's bench really, so that was good. Everyone sort of feeding each other and then going out and like mass robbing sprees, just shitloads of us just going and robbing paint all Saturday and then just spending Saturday night and the whole of Sunday just painting.
When I first started, I was in high school and I was lucky enough to go to a high school where there was a lot of writers, and not just like normal writers, but really good writers. And they were young, and I think back to it now and think these are like 17, 18-year-old kids, and they were style masters, and they were painting trains. They had the track sides on lock, and even till this day, you look back at the photos from back then, and like their pieces are amazing still, in this day and age.
The London scene when I first started was, for me, it was a very exciting time in British graffiti for the fact that it was everybody was trying to be original and was trying to do their own style and be the best that they can be. So that was really exciting. It was, on the flip side, it was quite negative because it was quite a hardcore scene at that time. It was quite violent, and it was a proper graffiti scene, I guess. Where nowadays it's changed for the fact that the internet, you can see stuff immediately straight after it's happened, so people don't really go to places to actually see the artwork just by standing in front of it, and I think that's a lot of people now photograph stuff or paint so that it looks better in the photograph than it does when you actually stand in front of it, where I try to do little techniques that don't come out in photographs, and that literally my paintings are mostly for people who are standing in front of it.
History would influence my style mainly, things that I saw throughout my childhood. Very traditional graffiti, like New York based graffiti. Makes me feel slightly sorry for a lot of the people that have started graffiti now. They're picking up a lot of techniques or styles that come from, anywhere across the globe, be it Timbuktu or Buenos Aires, even though it's got nothing to do with their surroundings as such.
The only way to see graffiti was in the street, and what you saw on the train, or occasionally you might find a magazine, but they were really scarce. So when I started, there was much more magic involved. It was sort of a mysterious thing, always wondering who was behind these things, how did they do it, what does it mean, who are these people, how did they get there to do that, like how do they all know to be doing the same thing, and you're picking up bits and pieces as you go, and meeting an older writer or somebody who'd been doing it was like the key, because they would tell you about ways to mix inks and what paint you need to get, and places to go, and so meeting people was really important, and having older sort of writers that could act like mentors were, you know, it was a much bigger thing back then because they'd be the key to this world, you know. So I used to walk around with my camera just looking for weird walls behind buildings where there was graffiti, and travelling on the bus to try and find somewhere to take pictures of graffiti, and you know, just walking around and finding it because that was the only way. And I used to keep my photos in a photo album of all this stuff, like making your own magazine or website, I guess, that you could look over and show to your friends. And that was kind of, there were loads more places to paint back then because there was much more derelict space. So you'd hear about it from an older writer, oh, you should go to Paddington there by the taxi rank under the Westward, there's a Hall of Fame there. You'd never know if you didn't know about it, and you'd climb down there and there'd be a whole Hall of Fame underneath suddenly in this old foundations of a building next to a taxi rank, you know, teach pieces and loads of DDS full colour stuff, and walking around there was just incredible because you're just like, whoa, where does this stuff come from? Like, amazing, incredible, like hidden gem of like this, you know, it's not like it's on the internet and there are people there doing street art tours and taking pictures and posting them all over the place. You were still looking under the kitchen sink for things with spray can nozzles that you could take off, and you know, things, dyes and inks that you could try and mix, and making a mess of the bathroom sink and you know, all that sort of stuff. So it seemed a lot more special, but at the same time, that's just my experience of it, and I don't think it takes away from what it is today. What's the greatest sacrifice I've made for my art? I think at some points along the line I've sacrificed everything, you know, at various times. I've sacrificed friendships, relationships, work, money, time. Priorities are a big deal when it comes to painting, you know, and I think painting can become your priority more than when, you know, perhaps it shouldn't be. And that's part of doing something you love and that you're passionate about, is that it becomes a neglect of everything else. You know, there are days when you know you should be doing something else, or you can't afford to go painting, or you should be doing some work, or doing, you know, there's plenty of days when you should be doing something else, spending time with somebody, whether it's your girlfriend, your family, your friends, but you just have to do it. You have to get it done, and I think that'll be continual.
It has been detrimental to quite a few of my relationships. You know, it's not getting paid on time, not getting paid, staying out late, going and hanging out with your friends at the weekends instead of your girlfriend doesn't really get you laid. You know, it's something that I feel that I've got to do, and I feel that it's really important for me, for my sanity, to keep doing it.
I don't know, I don't think I really... can't think I haven't really sacrificed anything. For graffiti, it's such a big part of... I don't think I have really... Well, maybe I have sacrificed everything for graffiti. It was just such a big part of my life. Like, yeah, I don't really think about it. It's just something that I do.
life. Life's not a smooth ride. You roll with the punches and climb back on the horse and keep riding. I don't know if that sounds gay. Climb on the horse and keep riding.
I don't know if that sounds gay. I mean, oh, it's mad.